Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to another new week and indeed to another new devotional. At the beginning of this week, we're returning to Psalm 37 and we're going to look at verses 8 and following. We saw on Friday the importance of taking time to be still before God and to wait patiently for Him. Now, it's not easy to wait patiently, especially if you're waiting for things to change. Lack of patience often produces or leads to fretting. But there's another response to circumstances which we think to be unfair, and that is we can become angry at the circumstances that we observe. The psalmist knew that that was the case, probably by his own personal experience. He perhaps had got angry at the injustice of what he was observing. But now, looking back on both the circumstances that he had been facing and particularly his response to those circumstances, he now realizes that his response was wrong. And so, by way of instructing those who would read what he is writing, he says in verse 8, "Leave off from anger and forsake wrath." Leave off. Don't take it and put it on you. Sometimes, if we're going out somewhere, I'll maybe go upstairs and get ready and come down, and Lynn will say to me, "Robert, that doesn't suit you. Go up and change. Don't put that on you." And I'll go up and I'll put off what I did have on and I'll put on something else. Well, if you imagine anger as a piece of clothing or maybe a coat, and instead of choosing it to put it on, you instead leave it hanging on the hook. It's not something that is becoming. It's not something that suits the Christian. You should not take it to yourself. As a child of God, we shouldn't be seen wearing anger. Now, of course, we know that there is such a thing as righteous anger, and such anger is not sinful. However, there is a very fine line between what is truly righteous anger and anger whose taproot is to be found in our own desires and our own feelings. And so the psalmist knew that anger is something that in most circumstances we should avoid. The psalmist links anger with fretting, and he links it in such a way that the product of the two is usually evil. Fret not yourself, it only leads to evil. So you could do a mathematic calculation. Fretting plus anger equals sin or evil. Our response should not be that of sinful anger. Instead, it should be that of meek, humble acceptance and submission. If you read on, you'll see he speaks about the meek inheriting the earth. As we wait patiently for God to bring about His plans and purposes, God's plans, we know, are perfect. And God's plans are good and they are just. And we need to remember those things when circumstances in life seem to say otherwise. So the psalmist tells us not to fret, to be still before God, to wait patiently for Him, to put off anger, and to be meek, humbly submitting to God's ways and God's will. For we know that God does all things well. May God help us to be such people. Have a good day. Every blessing.